So this is what Nokia stock chart looks like over the last 5 trading days. We started the week off around $4.50 per share, ran up on Wednesday to a peak intraday of nearly $10 per share, but then we continued to sell off and ended off the week right where we started at around $4.50 per share. This was probably the most exciting week in the last year for Nokia shareholders. But is the party over? In other words, where is Nokia stock going from here? Does the outlook for this business actually look good? Is this a good long-term investment? These are the kind of questions I want to discuss and provide more insight into in this video. So I have a pretty good understanding when it comes to telecommunications and electronics and technology and software. It's kind of in my circle of competence, if you will. And I have a massive passion for this stuff. So it just adds to my, desire to research and understand these businesses much further. Nokia is one of those businesses that I think I have a good understanding on, and I think I can provide some good insight for you guys in this video with. So this stock has really been, just kind of in the back burner, just chugging along until this past week because it got caught up in the whole Wall Street bets, Reddit, GameStop hype. But based on what we saw, it looks like this run for Nokia is over. Now I want to point something interesting out to you here when it comes to these, GameStop and Nokia and AMC, a few of these stocks that have moved massively this week. GameStop has a 122% short float. AMC has about a 42% short float. Bed Bath & Beyond, 65% short float. These are all heavily shorted stocks. Nokia, on the other hand, has only a 1% short float. So while we saw a nice run last week, the chances of this continuing in weeks to come at the same rate of these other stocks is very low comparatively. So I'll say this, if you're holding Nokia stock here to support the cause, more power to you. I am 100% on the retail investor side during this whole event that we're seeing unfold. So I'm not going to really comment much on that. If you're holding it for that reason, I'm glad you're supporting the cause. But for those of you that are actually interested in this company, as a long-term investment, you want to see if this is a good business to hold over the long term. This video is going to answer some questions you may have and kind of give you some insight as to maybe this is a good stock for the long term or maybe this isn't a good stock. So now let's get into the actual content of this video, and here's the breakdown. First off, I want to talk about Nokia's stock history. I think this is very important to understand, and it'll give you some good clarity as to where the stock can actually go. Secondly, business and fundamentals. We need to understand what Nokia is actually good at and if they can keep winning at this. Thirdly, where is Nokia stock going? This is probably the question long-term investors are most interested in, so you want to stick around for that. But if you want to skip ahead, be my guest, guys. Timestamps are in the description down below. All I ask in return, smash the like button. It helps out tremendously and shows me that you appreciate the time that I take to make these videos. Okay, so to start off, I think talking about Nokia's stock history makes the most sense. Okay, so while Nokia may have had a fun week here for volatility and a lot of money could have been made in this stock, the last decade or two has not been fun. It's been anything but fun for shareholders. The stock is down nearly 92%. That's right, 92% from its highs back in 2000, and this is important to recognize. Now, while past performance does not indicate future performance, there's typically reasons why a stock sells off this sharply over the long term. So it's important we understand this better. Back in the dot-com era, the late 1990s, Nokia was one of the best stocks to throw your money into. The stock saw hundreds of percents of return and a ton of investors flooded into this name. But the thing is, as quickly as the stock shot up, it shot back down, and many people are left bag holding the stock right now. Now, I was too young at the time to actually be investing in the market at that point, but I do know people that were invested and they, had a ton of their wealth in stocks like Nortel. So, the Nokia situation, at least it's better than the Nortel situation because Nokia still has some value in their stocks. Nortel, on the other hand, went bankrupt. So, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But regardless, 90% plus losses. Something we really need to look into here. And these aren't the only stocks. Ericsson is Nokia's closest competitor right now, apart from Huawei, and they also suffered the same fate, down 90%. You can even make an argument that Cisco is kind of in the same telecom space as well. It was part of the dot-com bubble. And even this business has not recovered yet, but they are doing much better than the other two, mainly because they are a more diversified company. They have a lot more going than just telecom equipment, and that has helped them somewhat see some recovery over these last 20 years. So now you understand the history of Nokia stock, and you understand that these stocks were incredibly overvalued in the past. Investors flocked in, and it just ended up badly for everyone. But now, hey, we're 92% off of the highs. Is this a buying opportunity? Well, to understand that better, we need to look at the business and the fundamentals of Nokia. So first, let's discuss why long-term investors are actually interested in Nokia, why they want to buy this stock. And now I'm talking, apart from the whole Reddit incident that's been going on, why do people actually want to hold Nokia stock for the long term? A lot of it has to do with Nokia 5G. In fact, most of it has to do with their 5G, because the company has become one of the main leaders and frankly one of the handful of companies that are doing 5G deployment around the world. Nokia supplies equipment necessary for countries to have the infrastructure to run 5G, and this is very important. Think of all the devices we have these days, right? Like our cars, our electronics, things in the house, our fridge. All these things have internet connections, they have data that they can communicate. And 5G is really the technology that takes advantage of all of this. One of the biggest advantages will probably be with the vehicles and communication between vehicles, which will help make us safer on the roads. But apart from that, like I said, there's so many use cases for 5G, so it's an important technology. And as the name implies, it's 5G. It's the upgrade from 3G and 4G. So all these countries that have 3G, 4G in place have to replace its infrastructure, and that's kind of where Nokia comes in. Nokia is also a key player when it comes to 6G, which is the next advancement of 5G, but this is still in research stages currently and won't be seen anytime soon. Now, I touched on this, briefly. Ericsson and Huawei are the two other big competitors fighting with Nokia here for market share. Now, Huawei, they have a whole set of other issues, guys. They are banned from many first world countries around the world. These countries include the UK, includes Australia, and well, even here in the US, Huawei is seen as the enemy. So because of this, Nokia really only has one other competitor, which is Ericsson. Between the two, they have been winning deals with telecom providers all over the world. But from my research and understanding, Nokia is ahead of Ericsson here, especially when it comes to the next generation research, which is 6G. But in the meantime, there seems to be enough of a pie here for both Nokia and Ericsson to fight over, split between themselves, and enjoy in these countries where Huawei is banned. So with that being said, the future of these two businesses seems just fine for now. Now, when looking at Nokia's fundamentals, you can see here that they are not all that impressive. Revenues has been flat, profits have been non-existent, but this should change now with the 5G rollout that we're seeing. But here's the thing, 2021 is expected to be yet another flat year for the business. Virtually no growth expected, and about $25 billion in revenue expected once again. In terms of earnings, this is expected to remain flat as well, so not too much to expect with Nokia as a business this year. But now, could this change in 2022, 2023, 2024? Possibly. And with more countries, rolling out 5G and then 6G kind of getting into the picture, it's possible. But here's the thing, we said the exact same thing as 5G was getting into the picture and 4G was getting rolled out. So will things change when 5G gets rolled out and 6G gets pulled in? I don't know. I'm not really convinced here. Also ask yourself this question, what happens if, UK, Australia, the US, these countries decide to lift the ban on Huawei? Then what? Then we have another major player in this market, probably the most hungry player out of these three, and they could dominate the market if governments allow it. That could be when we see, some declines in revenue from Ericsson and Nokia. And that would not be good news for shareholders. So while there may be a catalyst that 5G could be huge for them, 6G can be huge for them, if Huawei is allowed back in, if things change with the relationship with Huawei and China over the next few years with governments, that could be a major bearish point for Nokia. Now financially, Nokia is strong. They have a lot of cash, a lot of assets, total assets at nearly $44 billion. Liabilities, not really a concern. Current liabilities can be covered by their current assets. Debt is manageable at $4.4 billion, and total liabilities for the business is around $26.5 billion, which is well below the total assets. No issues here. So on paper, good fundamentals for this business, but when you take a step back, you look at this business as kind of like, how does it fit in the world with its competitors and that kind of stuff? I'm not fully convinced, and that begs the question, where do I think Nokia stock is going from here? So based on the fundamentals, guys, based on the numbers that we're seeing, the future numbers that we're expected to see, I don't think the stock is really going to do too much. Is 5G the future? Yes. Is 6G the future? Yes. Is Nokia a player in this space? Yes. Are they one of the biggest players in the space? Yes. But we're not seeing anything materialize from all of this, and that's kind of what's concerning me a little bit. Remember, for a stock to move higher, the company has to be growing, the company has to be pulling in more money than they did before, become more profitable maybe, invest in new technologies that could bring even more revenue and profits for the business over time. That's typically when you see a stock move higher and higher. Nokia's case, they're investing in technology, but their growth is expected to remain pretty much the same. So the only real case I could see here, at least for the next few years, is that the stock is undervalued at today's price and should be valued a bit better, a bit more premium as compared to the general market. But if you're looking at growth for this business, it's non-existent right now. All of this has resulted in stagnation for the stock price, and I don't know, I don't mind holding stocks that consolidate over time if I see strong catalysts and actual, materialization of growth going forward. But in Nokia's case, I just don't see it. So if you disagree with me on that point, please give me your bullish thesis in the comments down below. I really am open to seeing this a bit better here, but like I said, with the rollout of 5G that we're seeing so far, I'm not seeing much materialize for Nokia yet. The problem I see with Nokia is the same thing I see with in large companies like IBM and Cisco. These companies are huge, they make money, they are relevant right now, but they're losing their edge. They're failing to innovate at a pace that the world actually wants or needs. And while they release new products, new services, new technology, and it's great, it doesn't really excite investors, and it doesn't really push the needle in their fundamentals to the point where you're like, wow, look at that growth, I want to buy into this stock. And also, 5G is the future like everyone keeps saying, but I think there's better place to get exposure to 5G, 6G, 7G, whatever G you want, if I am being honest here. Now, one of the companies is Apple. I could own Apple if I wanted exposure to future technologies in telecommunications. I could own semiconductor companies like Skyworks Solutions for 5G exposure. They're also really big when it comes to this with their chips. And there's a whole list of other companies that are not directly equipment providers that will benefit from 5G and 6G and benefit a lot more actually than Nokia, Ericsson, and probably Huawei will as well. Sometimes owning the main supplier of the equipment isn't necessarily the best from an investment perspective, and I'm starting to see that more and more as I dig into Nokia here. So for me personally, I don't really see Nokia stock on a fundamental level at least doing much here for investors in 2021, possibly even 2022. While things can change in the future if somehow they manage to say, hey, look, we can actually pull in now 10, 15, 20% plus growth, grow our numbers, grow our earnings, grow our profits. Okay, great. Then at that point, I'll reevaluate and see if Nokia is a good company to buy. But I think for the foreseeable future, it's kind of just there. It's a stock that pays you a dividend. It's a stock that is stable. But I'd like to look for companies that are going to grow, companies that are, pushing the envelope, companies that investors are excited about or will be excited about, at least with future catalysts. And to be honest with, I can't really see that with Nokia right now. Now, I know some of you disagree with me, and that's completely fine. I want to hear your bullish point, and maybe I'll change my mind on this stock. I'm open to listening to this, and like I said, this is a field that I really do have a lot of interest in, so I'd be happy to hear your perspective in the comments section down below. Either way, guys, you wanted this Nokia video, you got it. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you did. But either way, don't forget to invest positively, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.